Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Fetch Quest podcast, where we talk about video games and more. I'm your host, Guy, joined by my fellow co-host, Brewer
Hey, everybody.
and Connor.
Hello.
Hey guys, what's up? You ready for the recording? And what you up to?
Yeah, I'm good. Just get a quick save in Mario 64.
Yeah, give me like 1 second. I'm fighting this boss in Hollow Knight.
Oh, cool. Wait, Connor, wait. How are you playing Mario 64?
I'm just using Nintendo Online. I mean, I know Nintendo Online's not like the best service out there, but it's better than whatever Sony's got going on now.
Yeah, Game Pass is awesome for having Hollow Knight on it.
Yeah, well, I mean, PS Plus isn't that bad.
It's pretty bad.
I mean, I mean, to be fair, Guy, I didn't just mean PS Plus. I meant all of Sony. Have you been seeing the BS they've been doing lately?
No, what have they done now? What's happened?
Okay, where do we start?
Quote unquote, no IPs.
The constant unneeded remasters for games that were on the PS4.
They're terrible anti-consumer decisions.
AI Aloy. I mean, we could go on for a while. It's been shit.
Well, why don't we make that today's episode then?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm down. I've been wanting to spit on Sony for a while.
Alright, awesome. Let's fucking do it then. With that being said, hello everyone. Welcome to the episode today. We're gonna be talking about Sony as like a company and their recent decision making and how, yeah, we don't fuck with Sony all too much. And just like the inspiration for this video, at least I brought it to the others when we got a leaked footage. We got some leaked footage of them using AI, and it was a video of Aloy from the Horizon series, and it was made using generative AI, and that was just a sign to me where I was like, okay, we have to make this video. Like, there's no way we can't.
Yeah, I've been not chill. I haven't been chill with Sony, but I've just been like, you know what? Sure, go ahead and shoot your own company in the foot with the constant dumb decisions you keep making. But with AI Aloy, like that was a like step. That was a boundary that they pushed way too far.
It's a moral boundary that's being
Yeah,
broken with
yeah.
every publisher and developer that's sticking their foot into it.
Am I surprised that Sony was kind of like, at least as far as I know, the first to really do that? No. Um, does it mean it's not bad? No, it's still incredibly awful and bad to and I think I'm just gonna mention this now. I think it's heavily ironic and hilarious that the first character that they decided to test this a generative AI thing out with was the character from a game where the whole point is like humans put too much trust in AI and bad shit happens. I think that
Yeah.
I think that's hilarious.
Media literacy zero.
I mean, this is coming from the company where one of the big wigs literally said we don't have any IPs when they had literally just released Astrobot. So
Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about in this video. Like, some of the stuff that like Sony's been doing for like the past, I want to say like 2 to 3 years now, is not only just like the three main things I want to get like out of this is they've been extremely anti-consumer. They have been extremely hypocritical with their direction and what they want to do with their gaming company. And three, they've been very, very bad towards their employees and the direction that they are trying to take the company. I feel like it's just making it harder for the employees to like actually make a living and work on something they're passionate about.
and I'm not gonna
Um,
I was gonna say before we go too deep in, just because we're specifically talking about Sony does not mean we're like absolving Xbox or like I guess Microsoft or like Nintendo of like bad stuff they've done. But like I mean, like for example, Xbox laid off like a fuckload of employees last year for no reason. And Sony also did that too, and I'm probably going to touch on that a bit. But the Sony has just repeatedly made some of the worst decisions in the past year, and so we're going to talk about them.
Yeah, they've made the most decisions that have pissed us off, at least out of the big three recently.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to their, I think a big one we could like step into topic wise right now is their remasters and lack of remasters for the games we want, remastering games that don't need remasters, and then also just like Sony, where's the new games?
Yeah, no, I definitely am very passionate about this topic because, as someone who, not recently, but someone who played Bloodborne, I love that game, but in a game where like perfect, like being able to perfectly dodge your enemy's attack and parry them, having it run at 30 frames is sometimes detrimental. So I think uh, a remaster or a remake of Bloodborne would be phenomenal. Um, but that's never going to happen because Sony is going to keep remastering Horizon and Until Dawn and making them literally look fucking worse than the PS4 version.
I swear to God.
Yeah, yeah, we should probably get into that as like a big one because I feel like that's a big thing that like a lot of people have recognized as being just like a really shitty business practice. Sony has had the audacity to re-release the same game with very minimal visual upgrades and slap a $70 price point on it. One of their most recent ones was The Last of Us 2 Remastered. I did not I did not purchase this whatsoever, and what's crazy is that when I eventually do play The Last of Us Part 2, I'm going to be playing it on the original PS4 version, and I'm going to tell you that it is going to look phenomenal and play great because guess what? That game did not need a remaster. Um
Okay,
this kind of What's up?
um, I was really, since we're on the topic of Last of Us 2, there is a really funny story I would like to share that happened recently. So, um, recently, our good friend Julian, who's been on the podcast before, he um he got his PlayStation hacked, like his account hacked, and the first thing the hacker did is they bought The Last of Us 2.
No fucking way, man.
Yeah, no, when he was telling me about it, I was like, bro, who hacks an account to buy The Last of Us 2? And he said that unironically is the part that pisses me off the most. It was that, like, it was so funny. He was able to, by the way, he was able to get his account back and he got refunded for it. So, like, everything was good in the end, but it was so funny.
That is really fucking funny.
Specifically, The
Holy
Last
shit.
of Us Part Two, like no other games at all. No
Well,
God of
they tried to
Wars.
also, according to Julian, they also tried to buy God of War, but I think it's funny that their first thing was like, I'm buying Last of Us 2.
That is kind of funny.
That's really fucking funny, dude. Holy shit. Um I wanna bring us back to like where the beginning of the remasters kind of started. This can be traced back to God of War 3 and Last of Us. So basically, The Last of Us came out on the PlayStation 3, but unfortunately it came out at the very tail end of the PlayStation 3 generation. And of course, the PlayStation 4 had no backwards compatibility, so of course there's an issue there of how are we going to let our new PS4 players play The Last of Us? Well, how about we re-release it for PS4, but with the new enhanced graphics, we can make a remaster out of it. So that is how we got The Last of Us remastered in 2014, which of course got critical acclaim. There was no issue with it whatsoever because this was addressing the flaw of the PS4 not being backwards compatible. The same happened with God of War 3, where that game also came out near the tail end of the PS3 era, and of course, same thing happened. They made a remaster for it with a new engine in PS4 and made the remaster for God of War 3 so more people could play it. The problem is, though, I think Sony has become a little too accustomed to this remaster after 1 or 2 years after release thing. because see where these two games it was kind of needed because they were released near the tail end of the PS3 era. You have a game like Last of Us 2, which I'm gonna be real, I can't really tell the visual upgrades when I'm looking at the comparison videos of the PS4, the original PS4 version versus the PS5 remaster. It's kind of like, why? Why would you do
Yeah.
this?
Also, like, it, I think if it was a re-release to like, it doesn't address what the core issue is. The reason we wanted these games re-released originally, like PS3, PS4, is just because they're not available. You can't play them if you have the new console. Sort of like how a lot of Wii U games were ported to the Switch because the Switch wasn't backwards compatible. So even if they didn't get any upgrades, they were just put on the Switch and re-released. That $60 price tag does kind of suck, but we have a way to play the games. That's why we needed those re-releases. And the cases for these games, the PS5 is about completely backwards compatible with the PS4 catalog. So, like, there's not really much reason you need to re-release these PS4 games on PS5 when I can already play them.
Not only is it kind of scummy to like to re-release the game with a new price point to like I guess appeal to a new audience, I guess, or like give us like more graphical overhauls, which I don't agree with, but it's also affecting the original games. We saw this with Horizon Zero Dawn when the remaster for that got announced. Sony jacked up the price of Horizon Zero Dawn Complete Edition from $20 to $40.
Yeah, just scummy practices in general.
Yeah, which is like, dude, what the fuck? Like they know for a fact that the remaster would not do well because the original is right there with all the DLC for $20. So, of course, they increased the price point to give more incentive to get the remaster, which is so shitty.
Yeah, I really cannot state how much I hate it because, like, just make some new games, please, instead of just re releasing the same games with minimal changes. Like, you can barely notice it. Like, with the PS3 to the PS4, you could argue that, like, if there's a remaster, okay, you know what? There's a big enough graphical divide here that you can maybe justify this for some of the games, alright? But, like, PS4 to PS5, we have not had that like at all with any of these remasters, and part of that is just like the tech is getting so advanced that like the leaps we've had for each generation are getting smaller and smaller. That's just how it is right now in the current state. But if that's the case, you know, maybe we don't need these remasters. Put your eggs in another basket.
No, exactly. It's like you're spending resources on something that is already existing instead of expanding on your pre-existing IPs or creating new ones. And because of this, you're creating a cycle of just of stagnancy. That's the best way to put it, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, also with the
Like hell,
remasters, the thing that annoys me the most is like they're doing all these remasters for games that don't need it, but they won't go and remaster some of their older games that like are not readily available to play, or even in the ways they are available right now. Like, let's say I want to play the original God of War trilogy, God of War 1, 2, and 3. Okay, God of War 3 is available on the PS4, so I can play through it with backwards compatibility. That's fine. God of War 1 and 2, though, are different. I can't do that, so I have to have a PS Plus subscription, one of the more pricey ones, I think, as well, that does the cloud streaming for it. So, like, I don't have a native port to play the original God of War games. It's probably gonna lag and buffer on me because it's a cloud version of the game. So, like, just why not remaster this PS3 game, or actually, no, PS2 game, because the original God of War games released on PS2, instead of just remastering a game that I can already play.
no,
Yeah,
exactly, man.
I
Like this
remember.
is one of the main. You first. You first.
I was gonna say like, there are so many games that like they have on their like catalog, like some of the older ones like Jack and Daxter and Sly Cooper that I would love to see like a remake or remaster of. But instead they remaster Until Dawn, and literally it looks worse than the PS4 version because they because it already looked like really good graphically, and so they just fucked it. It's so stupid.
Yeah, it's really dumb.
Yeah, like this is like one of the main reasons as to why people say the PS5 has no games. Because I mean, they're kind of they're kind of right in that sense of like Sony thinks that like they need to like make everything so graphically like on point or like updated that it needs these remakes or remasters when they're kind of missing the point of like people are not demanding it. People are not like saying we need remakes of this stuff immediately with the new software when we can already play it. Like, dude, I'm gonna be real. I'm not gonna get The Last of Us Part 1 because I already own Last of Us Remastered. When that is already one of my favorite games of all time. If I want to play it, if I want to go back to it, I have the PS4 version that I can put into the PS5 whenever I want.
Yep.
That is something I am not going to spend another $70 on because not only is it a game that I have played, but it is a game that doesn't rely on graphical fidelity to tell its story or to play it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quick question: what is the current Xbox, like the most recent Xbox called?
The Series
Xbox Series
X?
X.
Okay, I'm currently doing research to see how many exclusives Xbox have versus PlayStation 5.
I'm gonna be honest, Xbox is not doing much better, like at all. If we're talking about exclusive, Nintendo blows both of them out of the waters.
Oh yeah, no,
Like
without a
The
doubt.
Switch 2 is not even out, and they're still blowing them out of the water with just like the very small amount of games they're releasing this year for just the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, exactly.
Because other than a couple exceptions on the PS5 we've gotten throughout the years, like okay, we got Demon Souls when the PlayStation first came out. We have Astrobot, really good game. Other than a couple exceptions like that, there the PS5 really does have no games and no exclusives.
so, yeah,
Especially like a lot of exclusives that are taking advantage of the hardware, like Astrobot takes advantage of the hardware. Like that couldn't have been done on PS4. But we have a lot of games that like yeah they're exclusive on PS5, but they've also been releasing on PS4 as well. So like it's just been they've been bottlenecking the games. I feel like
yeah. So
Oh, I get that.
not reaching their true potential.
so um, I've looked up the Wikipedia one. The Xbox one is like kind of weird because it's like it doesn't seem to be exclusive. It's like with the Wikipedia list. So I'm just gonna list the Nintendo Switch and PlayStation ones. So on the Wikipedia list there is um it says like 393 games, which I doubt is all the Switch exclusives, but that's what the Wikipedia page says. I want you to guess how many items are in the PlayStation 5 only games.
I
I
guess 9.
think last time I checked, maybe it's probably around 16 now.
Um, so it
What's it
says
say, Connor?
okay, it says 39, but also do keep in mind that this is counting like games that PlayStation is not developing, they are just only releasing. If it was PlayStation developed, like PlayStation 5, like Sony developed games, it would be a lot less, which is sad. I'm pretty sure there's like only like 15 PlayStation 5 exclusives, which is
Well, even that
astronomical.
number you said before, with like even the stuff they're not releasing, like 30 something, that's still pitiful.
Oh no, yeah,
I will.
like
Yeah.
39 is still bad, but the fact that it's probably like closer to 15 if we're doing only Sony releasing is abysmal. Like that is like pathetic.
I will say this though, a good amount of like these exclusives are being moved to PC, which I think is a really good thing because that just allows more people to play PlayStation games. Like you can play God of War, you can play your Horizon, you can play your Last of Us on PC now, which I think is like really sick. So like I do think like in terms of like porting, I think that should be taken away from the discussion because for the amount of shit we're going to be giving Sony in this video, that is one thing that I actually will give them credit for, is that they're doing a good job of consistently porting their newer games. Even if it does take like a year or a year and a half to get those games on PC, it is still happening.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the PC market is one that won't really affect them too much compared to like, oh, if they released their God of War on Xbox or something. PC has always been kind of just a very like outstretched like third party separate market from like the console market. So I don't think that it's really going to cause them any problems, and more people can play their games because also anyone who has a PC is likely to not want to get a PS5 as well just to play God of War or something, you know.
Yeah, no,
So I
Yeah.
think it's good they're releasing them there.
I will agree with that. I just think I the problem isn't the fact that they are exclusive. It's the part that's the problem is the amount of like quote unquote exclusives, because that also means like they're just not producing many games in general.
Basically, what we're trying to get at is that, like, resources are being put into the wrong thing. They're being put into stuff that you could already play when we are saying new IPs, new games for
Yeah,
pre-existing IPs as well.
I'm not
But
gonna
kind of like
say
giving.
I
What's up?
was. I'm not gonna say like Nintendo is perfect, but one thing I will always give Nintendo credit for is that they are constantly trying new stuff. They're constantly experimenting with franchises. Always trying to make new stuff. Like Splatoon, one of their best-selling franchises, is like incredibly modern. I think the first game came out like what 2016 ish.
Yeah, on the Wii
2014?
U.
Was it
Yeah,
2016?
I'm pretty sure. Here, I can look it up real quick.
Here,
But
I got it.
okay, but my point still stands of like at least like Nintendo, like they've done some of like stupid stuff like recently as well, but like I will never I will always say Nintendo's like my favorite just because of the amount that they are putting out as well as like the amount they're experimenting with. Whereas
Yeah,
Sony was just like this goes back to I think it was our demos episode that me and Guy did where we talked about like how the video game industry is just becoming heavily industrialized to where a lot of the big companies like Microsoft and Sony don't give a shit about creating like genuine art, genuine pieces of media that anyone can enjoy, and they are instead just fully concerned with making as much money as possible, which translates
yeah.
to making a bunch of remasters for really popular games so they can cash in on people who are going to buy the remasters because they like the first.
Yeah,
And
not to mention with like them not caring about their creative aspects, but also like the people behind it as well. Because like they're about every other month we keep seeing like headlines for Sony's laying off like hundreds of people for like their San Diego branch. They're laying off hundreds of people for this branch. Like
they're creating an AI, generative AI, which is going to mean that they can justify laying off even more people because they won't need the artists.
yeah,
That is actually something I wanted to talk about. Like kind of getting away from like the remaster and like resources aspect. Um, we saw this recently with the confirmed cancellation of the the live service God of War game. Um, yeah, so Sony decided instead of having Santa Monica Studios or their main studio develop a new God of War game because those games are fucking awesome and peak, they decided, hey, we're gonna put our resources into a live service God of War game that got canceled, by the way, and then after said cancellation, most of the people. Well, laid off most of the people who were working on that project,
fun
and
times.
that is something that I think Sony's just been doing a shit job with recently, is like being consistent with like the projects they are working on and like backing up the people who are working on them. We saw this also with Concord.
Yeah, Concord was a absolute mess of a release. For example, despite the fact that it was supposed to be a multiplayer hero shooter game, you had to pay $40 for it, which the reason like games like Fortnite, Overwatch 2, Marvel Rivals are so successful is because they're free. Like that's a big reason that they are so successful.
That's one of the
Um,
reasons, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you can have some successful shooter games without that, because like, look, Splatoon that we mentioned earlier, Splatoon 3 is like sold over 10 million copies, and it's a
Call of
$60
Duty.
game.
Yeah, Call of Duty is also like a really big shooter franchise.
Shh, we aren't gonna mention that one. I'm mentioning the good ones.
No, I know, but
Yeah.
it still stands. But not only was it you had to pay $40 for it, the it was also PlayStation exclusive, which if you're making a multiplayer game in the current era, you like especially if it's a team-based hero shooter, it needs crossplay. It needs to be available to every console. It was like the payment and the no um only being like available to PlayStation just killed it instantly.
Well, I think
I-
to just like how generic it was, and like the amount of resources, like the ridiculous amount of resources they put into it versus a lot of their smaller projects, and just like kind of kicking them to the side. Concord is just one of the craziest failures we've had in years for gaming.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and it's sad to see too because like I know for a fact that there was a lot of passion put into Concord. It just had like very bad direction. That could have been like a very good game, a very successful one. But instead of like giving the people who worked on it a chance, they kind of just like left them in the fucking sinking ship. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Sony didn't really do any. Sony currently has no plans to revive Concord and is currently the team that has developed Concord is not being funded by Sony. I'm correct on that, right?
I'm
I don't
honestly
know.
not too sure.
I have no idea.
Okay. But okay, I just remember hearing about this. Like, they shut down the servers. I don't think they are doing anything to get get this thing back on the road, which is just Jesus Christ. Here we go. I'm reading some articles on it. The director stepped down. The staff is not too happy with this, and a lot of them are stepping down, and Sony is not funding. Oof, that's a bad one.
Yeah, that's rough. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, so basically, what I wanted to get at with this Concord point is that I think Sony is doing a very bad job of being consistent to the people who are making its games. The only people that I see that they're being consistent with is Team Asobi, and that's because Astrobot was their most recent dub that actually got them some money. And it's sad. It's sad to see that because like I know these people are putting time and effort. Even if the games are not good, it's still no reason to just like lay them off immediately when this company is making billions of dollars every year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, better to like give them a chance to like succeed, you know? It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
not every game in their catalog has ever been like boom, gigantic smash hit that immediately sold millions of copies. Like, no, a lot of these big franchises, you know, they had to start out small and then build up to where they are now. So the fact that they're just like kind of keep kicking anything that isn't like a smidge successful to the curb is like it's just really sad to see.
Yeah, it sucks cuz like dude, a year ago they made a statement that they laid off 900 people, which is estimated to be around 8% of their entire department. That's fucking insane.
Yeah, it's dystopian. I don't have any other better word to
Oh,
have
that's
it.
a good way to describe it. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel bad for almost anyone that's just trying to get into the gaming industry or just already working in it, because like every week you just see stuff about like how even successful stuff too, not just like stuff that hasn't done too well, even really successful games, people have been getting laid off left and right just because of corporate greed.
Yeah, and that's just something like Sony like I don't think they are learning all too well like how to how to appeal to not only like the people but also their employees. And one of the big things, oh my god, I mentioned this earlier in the beginning of the episode as to like the straw that broke the camel's back as to why we're making this episode now. They're now there is physical evidence and proof of Sony using generative AI and testing with it. This to me is the scariest thing for any like PlayStation fan as of right now. Because this is, I'm telling you, something that can put the gaming industry into a field of uncertainty for a while.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
I don't know if we've shared our thoughts on generative AI on this channel. We probably have before. Yeah, no, it's not cool.
Yeah,
It's
fuck it.
it's fuck it. Like, dude, come on. Like, don't get me wrong. AI, like, not generative AI. Let me make that distinction. I'm fine if AI is used for like idea making, but in terms of creating things, I cannot get behind whatsoever
Yeah.
because like there's no passion, there's no like heart put into it. It's just a system making something based off something previous. Not only that, but like it's going to be it's going to be taking the jobs of hundreds, if not thousands, of people if it is allowed to do stuff like this. Because to make a video game, you need a lot of people to do different things and to work at the same time to make a good product. But when you have something like this that is going to be doing all of that, but within like a few hours without any human input, I'm just really scared for the employees of Sony.
It's yes, I agree. I also feel bad for the employees, but another thing is just like from the consumer aspect, because if you make an entire video game out of AI, it's gonna be shit. Because the reason why it takes a lot of effort to make video games is that not only are you needing to like do everything in terms of like, designing the characters, writing the story, and stuff like that, but also like level design. And AI is not going to be able to make a good video game level because it's not going to have any purpose behind it. It's just going to be a lot of bunch of regurgitated like assets everywhere, and it's not going to have any purpose to it. It's not going to have any way to be able to tell, at least well, what you're supposed to do. And I guarantee you, if it'll allow it to get like soft lock
Yeah.
constantly.
Well, I think something to mention with this, because like obviously they're not gonna make a whole game off of generative AI, at least not yet, because that may be a couple years in the making. Thank God. But with it, they'll probably mostly be using it for like some of the stuff they think they can easily cut, like voice acting, having like people's voices trained with generative AI, and then pushing it out, art, writing as well. Like if you already use AI, it should be on stuff that like the more tedious stuff that like you wouldn't want to do as a human. That's like hard. Like let's say I'm making a roguelike game. Like let's just bring up Enter the Gungeon, for example. That game, like it generates like a floor map like through every part of the gungeon you go through. But the thing is, it's very curated and still has human input put into it. The rooms are still designed by human. There's still code dictating, even though it is a random layout, like how random it can be. It's not just spewing it out. It isn't just a robot doing everything. There's still human heart put into it. But a lot of the like tedious and monotonous stuff that would be annoying for a human to like manually input is taken out. So like that's the stuff we should be using AI for, not for just taking away people's jobs, for like voice actors, artists, writers, all that.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, even then, it's like they're not really games like that aren't even using like an AI. It's more like that's what like seeds are. You know what I mean? Like
Well, no,
randomized seeds.
that is still AI though. The difference we're talking about though is like just regular AI versus generative AI, which I feel like that could be a whole nother episode in of itself.
I see. Yeah,
because
I get what you mean.
yeah, because like a little off topic, but like I do want to go into a funny story because like I remember in the last play in a place I was working at like a year or two ago, I was having to show a new guy around, right? And he goes over to where the machinists are, you know, the guys that like machine down heavy blocks of metal into like very refined shapes to be used in a manufacturing process. And he was talking about he saw their like the computers and stuff and like the touch screens for like all the settings they were messing with to adjust the measurements and whatnot. And he was talking about, I was like, oh man, I think I may need to talk to this guy though. This guy's was like, was that man? He was like, oh yeah, it's like just the AI, just like how immoral it is. I'm like, dude, that's a computer doing the math for them. They're inputting the measurements so the robot arm basically can cut down this 10-foot block of steel into something usable. It's not regurgitating a picture a picture of Kratos with 6 fingers.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, because
That
again,
I remember you telling me about that. That's crazy.
yeah, no, AI is just it's unfortunately become such a giant buzzword now because what used to just be a description for just automatic intelligence, you know, AI, it's now become just like a word for slop. That's about all I can say. Just terrible, horrible, computer generated slop.
Yeah, the connotation of that word has really changed. That's actually something like interesting to talk about for like a different episode or like different subject entirely. I can get an essay off that. But
Yeah, again, that's what I was saying. There's AI, and then there's generative AI. That's where we're at right now.
yeah. But like I kind of want to like I don't know about you guys. I kind of want to step away from like AI because we've talked about it a while and how like Sony is there is proof that they are moving, well, not moving, but it's more so like they're testing out AI, and that's something to be wary of. That's something to be very cautious of because it is still a very dangerous thing in terms of creating art and also employment for people. So I would just say we're still in a little bit of uncertainty. We don't know if Sony's going to fully implement it, but I still think it is something to keep an ear out for because that is something that could change the gaming industry forever. However, I know Connor has a lot of thoughts about this. Some of the decisions that they've made with arguably one of their best services they have, PS Plus. Connor, I know that you are an owner of PS Plus, and I do not own it. However, I know a good amount about it, but I would love to hear your thoughts on PS Plus and what it is.
Yeah, so I'll be honest, PS Plus is like kind of like very standard in terms of like an online service. I think it's kind of stupid that there's like three separate tiers. Like that's like there's no like at least for as far as I know about Game Pass and Switch Online, there's only two tiers of that. But PlayStation, they got to go that extra mile and give you three tiers to to milk out that extra bit of cash.
This is greed,
Tell us
only
what they
mentioned in the
are.
Bible.
Yep. So that definitely is a very bad part about it. And the other thing is that like the most basic one, um, which I think is called Essential, it gives you access to online, so you can actually play online games. And we can get in a whole different discussion how it's stupid that video game services require you to pay to be online when you don't really have to do that with anything else. But you know yeah, it gets you that, and then for every month you get three free games that you're able to download. I'm pretty sure this month it was like uh a Ninja Turtle game, something else, and Sonic Colors Ultimate. um I'm pretty sure that's what the three were this month. um so it gives you that. Then you have the I believe premium tier, which really the only thing of note that it gives you is that it allows you to play a bunch of retro games like Ape Escape and other games like that for free. um well, not really for free, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, well,
um
that and it has those cloud games as well, like a lot of the PS3 games.
Yeah, I forgot. Like Cloud was, and I honestly thought it was the premium tier, but yeah, it gives you that. Which I've never experimented with Cloud because both anytime I've used a Cloud service, it has sucked booty cheeks. Um, and then finally, you've got the premium tier, which um, again, really the only thing of note that I know it does is that it gives you access to just a huge catalog of like modern games, so you can get stuff like I know like recently Bug Snacks was on there. Got I think Phoenix Wright was on there until noon today, which that's something I'm going to get into a little bit later. And there's just a whole bunch of like more like modern release games that you can get on it, and I I think it's like $15. I could be wrong, but it's like 15, maybe $20 for the premium one, which is poopy stinky. And that's like the per month pay. I think it's like $80 for the yearly pay.
Yeah, it's a pretty pricey service, especially for the premium
Yeah.
edition. Even like getting the like discounted version, like not paying the per month, it's still like the premium version is still $160 before tax.
Um,
That is expensive.
that's fine. I was fully wrong. I expected it to be like somewhat decent, like actually make sense as to what to pay for. But no, I was.
It goes on sale every now and then for like cheaper, but God, that is still so ridiculous.
Yeah, that's very stupid, but it doesn't surprise me. And something I really and this obviously doesn't only apply to PlayStation, but something they'll do, like guys told me Xbox does this too, is they'll just like sort of randomly remove games and not really give a warning, like for what it does, which I understand why they do it. Stuff like contracts with games and other just legal jargon BS. But I still think it's kind of shitty, at least that they don't warn you, because the only way you'll ever find out is if you just like if you Google it, because they don't give you a thing to like like, oh,
Oh,
here's the games that are leaving PS Plus this month.
I thought
Um,
they give you a warning if you had them installed.
No, like it doesn't like there's like a little notification center that will give you updates. Like it'll tell you what games are on sale in your wish list or like what games got updated, but it never tells you if a game you have installed in your library is going to be like taken away this
Yeah,
month from
like
this
they'll
month.
I think they make announcements on it, but like it certainly could be a little more vocal. That or like if the PlayStation Store just had a little note on any PS Plus game that said like, oh, this one's gonna be leaving in X amount of days or whatnot. But that and more
Yeah,
so, I think they should just give you more time like ahead of time to know. Because a lot of times you only get to know like 1 month ahead. Like, okay, for some shorter games, that may work out fine, but like, what if I'm playing like a 100-hour RPG? I'm gonna be a little pissed if that's leaving.
yeah. So like recently, I mentioned Phoenix, right? I played the first trilogy, thanks to PS Plus, and I found out like at the start of March that I only had till the 18th in order to beat it, and I barely I think I'd barely gotten through like halfway of the second game. And Phoenix Wright is they're very long. Well, not very long, but they're pretty long games. So I had to speed through most of the third game. Like I got the entire third game done in like maybe like 4 or 5 days. Which
Jesus.
yeah, I had to speed through a lot of it.
That is one case per day, which like for the tutorial case you can get away with that, but like some of the later cases, God, that's a lot to go through.
Yeah, well, even like at least in terms of the third game, I at least for me, I thought the tutorial case was actually like pretty long as well. Not
Yeah,
like as long as the other ones, but it was definitely still substantial.
yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, but like
Yeah,
to pivot away from talking about Phoenix, right? But like I still think it's like they're not like I really all I asked is like just be more vocal about what games are leaving. Like put it in the notification center if they've got premium, because like if I hadn't started playing Phoenix Wright like about like I want to say like February ish, then I probably wouldn't have been able to beat it because of it leaving PS Plus, which is just stupid.
Yeah, I will say, like, based off like everything you've told us, it is just kind of like iffy. It's like how do I put this? It's like presenting a dog treat in front of the dog, but as soon as they like come to get it, you snatch it away and like raise it above your head, like trying to you egg them on. You know what I mean? And it
Yeah,
seems that like they're not really doing a lot of stuff to like prevent people from like it's how do I word this? Sorry. It seems like they're not doing a lot to make sure people are informed that these games just might not be available, which sucks because in situations like that, information is very important.
yeah,
Yeah.
because um, another game they removed this month was Resident Evil 3, and I know I was looking forward to playing that soon, but I'm not gonna be
Oh
able.
no, Resident Evil 3. Oh no. No, whatever will I do? Whoa.
Yeah. I mean, luckily you can always get that game like dirt cheap at like $10, but
Yeah,
Yeah, I was about to say it's a Capcom game. That shit's
yeah,
gonna be for like $5 eventually.
yeah. Well,
no,
I will
In
say,
like a
I will
month.
say that is probably a reason they don't try to make it super vocal all the time, because like if it runs out and you're in the middle of the game, a lot of people just aren't gonna want to quit the game where they're at. You know, they're gonna go look for ways to buy the game,
oh no, I 100%
which gives Sony a cut. You know.
yeah, like if like it might seem like we're like that's like incredibly speculative. It's like, oh, you don't know that,
No,
but
it's
like
just common sense.
yeah, it's Sony. It's also Sony, like the company that has been constantly doing layoffs, and like they are incredibly money hungry. Like they are so money hungry that it is 100% the reason why they aren't super vocal about it.
Yeah.
Speaking of like yeah,
I was
you
just
first.
gonna say, like with the stuff we've been mentioning now and a lot of stuff earlier, they just make a lot of anti-consumer decisions.
Yeah.
I was about to lead into probably the most anti-consumer decision they have made up to this point. Uh, so who here is a fan of the PS5 Pro?
Get that shit out of here, man. Put the fries in the
I can
bag.
I cannot fucking believe they actually made that system. I'm gonna be so dead ass. Like, I'm all for making upgraded versions of a system to like so that you can like make more powerful like make more powerful systems that can run better for games. But the way they like approach this thing, Jesus Christ, man. Oh my god.
seven
For
hundred
those who don't know,
dollars Doesn't come with a disc drive as well. Barely
yeah.
updates any of the games. It's like,
For those who don't
what are
know,
we doing?
in the most recent like console generations, Microsoft and Sony have had a trend. Well, Nintendo did this a little bit as well with the 3DS. But there was a trend of having like a midpoint console that was stronger than the original version, not strong enough to like count as a new system, but basically it just was this version of a system that was just much stronger, that could like hold more storage, that could run games better loading times, basically just like a little upgrade. And the thing is that this time around, Sony really fucked up. Jesus Christ. The PS5 Pro is a system where initially I was excited for the concept of a PS5 Pro with, like 100 gigabytes and even faster load times and just cool stuff like that. And then it's just like, holy shit, the more we found out, the more I just like wanted to just never buy a PlayStation ever again. Like Brewer said, it's $700, no disk drive included. That's an additional purchase you have to make. Not only that, but it doesn't really do that much graphically to compare itself to the PS5. Like I'm being so dead ass. You can look at videos and people have memed on this to death. How no one gives a fuck about the mini pixel in the background that is slightly better looking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd care if it was like, oh, let's say I'm playing like some game that usually like it's 60, but it varies. Like it'll dip it to 30. If I get constant 60 or like even higher frame rates than that, like without any dips, then I may care. But like, God, the more and more we've gotten into this generation, like even with all the tech we keep getting, there's just so many unoptimized games and whatnot that just don't have that. Like, I feel like we shouldn't be worrying about this stuff. It's the next generation. That and God, I can't even speak. It's so annoying.
And the idea is that like with the PS5 Pro, you'd be able to play like the exclusives like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and God of War Ragnarok with even like better fidelity and like better load times and whatnot. The problem is though is that like it's just not worth it. It's really just not worth it. Like if you have a PS5 already, you are already playing one of the most powerful systems in the market right now, and you don't need. There's no like. I'm gonna be real. Besides like maybe bragging rights and like the terabytes, like there. If you are a person who is only digital, wants more terabytes, and you just so happen to only own a PS4 or PS4 Pro at this point, then sure, maybe the PS5 Pro is for you. Maybe that's like your logical decision to like purchase of a next generation console, but like dog, there's no fucking reason to go from PS5 to PS5 Pro.
It is just a comical price hike as well. $700. Then you have to pay
Seven hundred
like what,
dollars.
$80 for that disc drive as well.
Yeah, congratulations. You're buying a it's so stupid. Like anyone who bought that is just an idiot. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Maximilian, dude, but you're kind of an idiot for that.
I think like their digital PS5, like the Slim. I think having a version without a disc drive, but like actually being able to buy a disc drive for it now, if you make a decision later that you want some physical games, like I think that's good. Like that's actually something I've been advocating for a while. Like even with all these digital consoles, I don't see any reason why we can't plug up a disc drive to it. But like now, like purposely trying to not include, like I know why they're doing it. They want to lean more into digital games because like physical games cost a lot to manufacture and print to ship out. They got to share profit margins as well with the retailers that sell the games as well. I know why they're doing it because it's cheaper, easier, more efficient, and it'll make them more money if they sell a digital game. But come on, you cannot be doing this, especially when like these games are like 300, 400 gigabytes. I want a disc I can copy that from, not having to download it every single time. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
But
No, I'm with you, man.
I was gonna say, do we want to go ahead and try and move to our concluding points? I think we've talked about Sony enough at this point.
Yeah, we've given them too much credit.
Yeah. I guess I'll start. So I really don't think there's anything to really say like for a lot because like we've really outlined it in this entire video of like Sony is just continuing to make just really shitty decisions both for their employers who are wanting or employees who are wanting to actually make art and stuff like Astrobot proves that like there are people at that company that are wanting to make genuine pieces of art that are incredibly fun and just good to play, but they're just so focused on fucking over on getting so much money that they fuck over not only their employees but also the people buying their products, the PS5 Pro, the constant remasters of games that don't need it, the just blatant like just constant amount of like just BS they do with like AI Aloy and just other stuff like that. It's just really sad to see because I know that PlayStation and Sony used to be like pinnacles of like the gaming industry and like what you can do with technology, like PS2, PS3, just being able to do just amazing stuff on those series and have them being super nostalgic. But they've just completely sort of thrown that away in the recent years because they're just so money hungry. But that's all I have to say.
Nice, nice. Brewer, would you like to go next?
Sure. I don't really have too much to say that I haven't already said in the episode, but Sony has just been very disappointing in the last couple of years. They don't have a lot of new games that are really enticing for you to want to have a PS5. A lot of the stuff they are releasing is just remasters of games I can already play. That or like, hell, some of these games I could already play, but can you remaster the games that actually need it? Like Bloodborne, please. I just want my 60 FPS, or just give me a patch, because I know it's possible because people have done it with the PS4 Pro modded. They make a lot of anti-consumer decisions, and I really don't like the direction they're going with, like, even just testing AI in general. Because with a lot of these major corporations, the moment they step their toes into it, there's really no going back from that cesspool. So yeah, that's about all I have to say on the matter. Just fuck Sony. They've done so much terrible shit over the years. I still don't forgive them for all that shit they did with Helldivers 2.
Real. Oh my
Yeah.
god. We'll learn more about that in our Helldivers 2 video. No. Alright. And then there was one. That's me. So, my concluding
Actually, no,
points.
guys. Sorry, due to budget cuts, we're laying you off from the Fetch Quest podcast. You don't get to make your point.
Yeah,
Yeah, like we make money off this thing anyways.
we do. We just aren't sharing it with you.
Yes, we do. I make
Jesus.
two Jolly Ranchers an episode.
That's crazy. But yeah, no. Basically what I wanted to add is it's really sad because I didn't grow up on Sony. Okay, I say that like I didn't get a PS4 when I was like 10. Um, I did grow up with Sony, and it's really sad to see that like this is like one of the big companies that houses some of my favorite gaming franchises and games in general. And even though we have like done a lot of shitting on Sony this episode, I do want to bring up the fact that like this doesn't mean that like they're entirely cooked from publishing or creating great games. We literally the most recent game of the year winner is Astrobot. Like that one of Sony's like most successful video games and arguably one of their best games of this current one of the best games of the current console generation. The thing is that like I hate to see them make so many little decisions and it's starting to like give us like a really bad like major look or like new look that Sony has provided itself that I just don't really fuck with. I'm gonna be real. It's like it's sad to see though because like you have like a fucking company that like Connor said is a pinnacle of not only gaming but gaming as a culture and like what it provides and what games it has given us. This company has given us like some of the best experiences in gaming, so for us to see like not only the games like kind of like go to hell and back to like be made, but to also like to see how those games are being made change and the not the right resources being put into effect, it's just really sad to see. And it's just something that I'm glad we made this video about because I wanted to address it. I want more people to be aware of like the certain decisions that they are making because not everyone on a casual basis knows like what's going on. And I do feel like this is stuff that needs to be covered because frankly, dog, like y'all said before, fuck Sony.
Fuck Sony.
But
Fuck Sony.
but yeah, no. Sorry for the little yap session there. I'm very passionate about this subject because the gaming industry is something not only I have been wanting to get into for basically my entire life, but it's just something I try to keep up with very frequently so that I know like what's going on and like hey, what should I support or like what is going on in the business because this is something I'm very passionate about and it's just really sad to see like this is all happening because like I want people to experience something that we cannot experience in real life, hence why I play video games. But yeah, that got really sentimental, but that's just because this is a sentimental topic for me.
Yeah, no, that's completely fair, man.
Yeah,
Yep.
no, that's basically all that I got. But with that being said, guys, if you like this kind of content and you want to see more of it, please hit that like and subscribe button if you want more content like this. Any likes or subscribbles will help us in the near future. And comment down below what your most hated part of Sony is, or maybe what your favorite Sony game is. But with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching today's episode on Sony and its misfortunes. See you later.
Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.